Hello, boys and girls of Credit Union Land, and welcome to the 17th episode of the CUInsight Experience. My name is Randy Smith. I'm one of the co-founders and the publisher of CUInsight.com, and it is my job on the show to have conversations with the best and the brightest from around the credit union community. I get to pick their brains and see if we can all find a few nuggets that we can all learn from. My guest on today's show is Mr. Michael Reuter. Mike is the executive director of the Worldwide Foundation at WOCCU. As a regular listener to the podcast, you know I'm a bit of a wanderlust, so talking to Mike about credit unions doing global good was a fun conversation for me to have. We talked about what doing global good means and why it's important for the credit union community. We discussed the benefits of credit unions in the U.S. being involved with the larger global movement. As we do in each episode, we learn more about Mike's path to credit unions and what he learned in the museum business that he brought to storytelling at the Worldwide Foundation. There were some great leadership and life hacks that I think you will all be able to take something away from and really enjoy. We wrapped it up with the rapid fire questions and we got to know Mike a little bit better. This conversation was a lot of fun. I know it's made me want to find ways to get more involved in the global credit union movement. So without further ado, I give you my conversation with Mr. Michael Reuter. Enjoy. Michael, thanks for joining us on the podcast. I was really looking forward to this. We actually got to meet each other in person a while back at GAC, but you know how crazy that is. We didn't get much time to chat. So I was looking forward to this, and I thank you for taking the time today to be on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Randy. And I'm an avid subscriber to the podcast. Love all the various topics and the individuals, the industry icons you've already interviewed. So it's truly an honor to be invited this morning.
Well, thank you again. I greatly appreciate it. Let's just jump right into the questions. I am a bit of a wanderlust. I love following the work that WOCCU does around the world. It was one of the reasons that I was excited to talk to you about what the Worldwide Foundation for Credit Unions is doing. I noticed, like I said, follow you guys, follow the blog, going through the site before, our conversation. I noticed that the foundation has a mantra: do good, do global good. What does doing global good mean to you?
We, a year ago, when I came aboard as the foundation director, we were really looking for kind of a catchy, engaging tagline to be able to connect at a deeper level with the industry and with individuals. And we kept going back to, we're really a vehicle to help credit unions continue to forward social responsibility and financial inclusion around the world for members. And so doing global good is really all about taking the why of credit unions just, to a global level. I think the credit unions in the U.S. market do an amazing job of messaging and have tremendous passion for collaborating and sharing their why. And, from our perspective, there are credit unions in every corner of the globe, in every community around the world that have similar member challenges. And so doing global good is all about spanning that bridge and coming along with us into the international global credit union system and helping us do a little bit of good every single day for those members who might think that they don't have the prosperity or the hope to grow their business or to start out, to grow a farm, or to take out that loan to help better their life. So doing global good is a very general term, but yet it really does resonate in terms of the impact that credit unions can make on a global scale.
That's awesome. How do you hope that the credit union community engages to do more global good? My first year as executive director last year, I did a tremendous amount of travel around the country. I really wanted to meet our champions, our donors face to face, and really get to understand their why in terms of why do they engage with us on a global level. It really starts with awareness. And so we really just want them to embrace a deeper sense of awareness for what is happening out in the global credit union system. What are the challenges that the global credit union system faces? And to be honest, the challenges aren't dissimilar from challenges that face the U.S. market. All our members, regardless of where they live, have similar challenges. And so I think just creating an initial awareness of who we are as a foundation in terms of the opportunities that we can provide to help them grow and engage their credit union. I think it's also a lot about advocacy. I know advocacy is obviously a big buzzword in the credit union industry. And so it's all about advocating, helping to advocate to their board as C-suite leaders or the CEOs, to advocate to their boards, to their
their leadership at all levels of the credit union, then obviously external face to their members in the community about, credit unions are these really special financial institution entities that can really make a difference, both obviously with financial offerings and services and education, but also with just the social responsibility piece of it, which is what makes us unique. So I truly and deeply believe in a strong sense of advocacy for spreading the message out into the various communities and through the field of membership. And then finally, kind of just take action. And action can mean a variety of different things. It doesn't mean just writing a check and walking away. To be fully transparent, we want all of our donors at all sizes of credit unions and individuals to provide global activism at whatever level that it fits within their value structure, their strategic direction of their institution, and how it can help satisfy their sense of social responsibility within the credit union model.
I think it's so interesting that, you mentioned your first year on the job, the idea of going out and not only establishing the why for the Worldwide Foundation, but listening to the donors and the member credit unions about what their why is. That understanding the why of credit unions is something that's come up over and over again on the podcast. So that's it is the secret sauce, right? What's special about credit unions?
It sure is. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite story? You've just mentioned it's you're going on your first year here. Any favorite story from the foundation doing good as your time as the executive director?
Yeah, right out of the gate, Randy, I kind of jumped in the deep end of the pool, if you will, in terms of learning as much as I could about the industry and meeting as many people as I could to get a deeper understanding of how credit unions obviously operate on a basic level, but then how they improve lives and change lives on an international scale. And I was really fortunate to be invited on one of our first field engagement trip of 2018 when we went out to Kenya. Okay. And the Kenya trip was about a week long, and we brought credit union leaders from all over the country with us, a special group of about a dozen folks. And half of the trip was, getting to know Kenya's National Association, their leadership better, and seeing a variety of sized credit unions, both in Nairobi and also out in the rural communities of Kenya as well. It had never hit me before. I mean, I'm a nonprofit professional. I've been in the nonprofit sphere for 20 years, and I'm used to obviously engaging and talking face to face with the people whose various nonprofits support and all those kinds of things. But to be able to actually walk in the sorghum fields and the corn fields of many of the farmers who our agricultural financing project helps to support and help to grow and expand, to be able to talk to those dynamic female entrepreneurs and farmers face to face was something I knew was coming, but it didn't really hit me till I was actually face to face with them, talking about, in hearing their stories about how, credit unions, or SACCOs as they're called in Kenya, how they're truly making a difference in changing the lives of themselves, their kids, and obviously generations of their families to come. The second half of that trip was really about traveling to the Busia orphanage, the Busia Children's Compassionate Center in Busia, which is a border town in Western Kenya. And this is a project that World Council has been involved in for a long, long time, over a decade. And it's all about helping to educate, feed, and shelter a really special group of orphan children whose parents have passed from the AIDS, HIV epidemic out there. So to be able to help repair the infrastructure there, to bring them soccer balls, to sit down and read stories with them, to play with them on the playground, the creation of that structure has helped that greater community be able to manage other aspects of building a sound financial systems and services structure. And the orphanage, with support from the credit unions, really helps that community manage, quite frankly, an epidemic of orphan children from this tragic, AIDS issue. So I think from both sides, but from the heart side of it and from the business side of it, the field engagement trip really gave me kind of the first real deep dive into why credit unions are so special.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to get your feet wet. That's for sure. I'm going in the end of June with a DE group over to Kenya. It's my first time doing anything like it, so I'm pretty excited about seeing that as well. You mentioned something, and it's a leadership podcast, right, around credit unions.
Yeah.
Besides, not that being a good human isn't enough, right? Like, we should all want to do global good, but is there a business case also why credit unions in the United States should be actively involved in the global nonprofit movement? Or
really, Randy, that's the bigger question. I think in terms of the why of why credit unions should do this, why credit unions should do global good and engage globally, is I think everyone unless you don't have a heart, I think everyone understands the why from the heart perspective, right? The social responsibility, being a good human, helping your common man, helping your community grow, and all those things. From a business side of it, I mean, that was one of the big reasons why I actually traveled the country extensively last year, because I wanted to get a deeper understanding as to why our current donor base at the foundation sees value business-wise from supporting us. And quite frankly, I would say 80 to 90% of our existing donor base supports us because they went on a field engagement experience. So they obviously got the heart side of it, but they also came back from Kenya or Ukraine or Puerto Rico or one of our many other field engagement trips that we offer on an annual basis. And they were able to take a component, more often than not, they were able to take a component and leverage that into some the business aspect of their shop. We have a credit union supporter in the Northeast who went on a field engagement with us in Puerto Rico last year, and who ironically has a large field of membership diaspora group from Puerto Rico. So Puerto Ricans who had relocated to his community. And the CEO walked away from our field engagement having a better understanding of how to market and how to have a deeper conversation and dialogue with that specific segment of his member group from the Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico, to be able to serve them better, and had a deeper understanding of the issues that are facing the country there, and how the credit union in the US, how his credit union could assist his specific Puerto Rican segment within his field of membership, and obviously continue to be a supporter of us, the Worldwide Foundation, to help continue to grow, efforts in Puerto Rico proper. So the other one is, we have a lot of CEOs and credit unions around the country who actually want to create their own customized field engagement. They see a lot of value in exposing their segment of their staff, their leadership team that are high performers, and incentivizing them, creating an incentivization to create a customized international credit union experience for them. And it's not just an award in terms of taking them on international travel. We're going to be developing in tandem with them a customized curriculum/experience that checks the boxes for them in terms of what are some of the strategic things that they want to learn as takeaways, and what are some of the things that they can integrate into their shop when they return. It could be things related to lending or agricultural finance or advocacy or marketing or member experience or digital technology in terms of interoperability payment systems. So we're really excited to kind of pilot that with various credit unions around the country. I think the exchanging knowledge and gaining those different perspectives are some of the key reasons why credit unions should invest in the credit union system globally through the Worldwide Foundation.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's for sure. I had a conversation recently on the podcast with Doug from Visa, and we were talking on an international level. You can learn things over there too, from a payment standpoint, and some of the digital, they skipped the landline, right? So,
sure. Yeah.
Not only obviously the greater good, but you can learn a lot also from other people that you might not think you're going to. You think you're the one there doing all the teaching. But what's the biggest challenge that the Worldwide Foundation is currently facing?
So, two things internally inside the foundation and World Council. We're growing our awareness initiatives. We're growing the awareness of the value proposition that we provide to the U.S. system and to the international movement as well. And so the foundation is kind of restructuring itself into this global engagement platform that can mean a variety of different things. But externally, we're continuing to do kind of the World Council, and the foundation in support of the World Council is kind of looking at three key issues. One is continue to advance and strengthen our international advocacy efforts, continue to protect the various international credit union systems country by country with fair advocacy and international financial regulations to give us a level playing field in competition with banks and other financial institutions. We want to continue to obviously grow membership of all credit unions worldwide. And one of our Vision 2020 goals, which is a big strategic initiative of the World Council, was to reach 260 million members worldwide by 2020. And we've already reached that mark 2 years in advance, which is a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely.
But finally, to digitize as much of the global credit union system as we can. And we're starting that in partnership project with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where we're looking at Asia and we have a deep partnership there with the Asian Credit Union Confederation and some of our other country partners in the Philippines and Thailand and so on and so forth. And so we're doing a deep dive study into seeing how they're leveraging a small number of digital financial inclusion platforms that can reach more members in a much shorter time frame and a much low cost framework as well. So our plan is to kind of grow that out and build the foundational piece for that, and then expand that regionally around various parts of the world with the end goal, right, of to try to bring credit unions and financial inclusion to millions more people worldwide who are facing barriers right now to getting that financial access, whether it be, because they live in a very remote area, or they don't have the funds, or they don't have the financial means to travel to an urban area to get to a brick and mortar branch or financial institution. World Council prides itself through its projects in bringing the credit union to them. So I think the digitization piece is the piece that we're the most excited about. And we have both the expertise in-house with our digital financial inclusion team, as well in our project development team, as well as our global partnerships with the Gates Foundation, Modus Box, which is a technical payments platform firm out of Seattle, Washington. We're partnering with this initiative on. Those are some of the really exciting things that we're looking forward to sharing more in depth with the industry in the next few months.
That's cool. I had an opportunity. There are a couple of things popped into my head while you were talking about that. I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to tour the Gates Foundation headquarters.
Wow.
I was blown away. I mean, just, you talk about doing global good and like kind of taking that. I know they're not Silicon Valley, but you're taking that tech approach to like, how do you solve a problem? I was blown away. The other question that popped into my head is I spent quite some time in Asia about a year and a half ago. I was in Indonesia for about 4 months. And one of the things that I noticed, this is kind of one of those boots on the ground type thing where when you're in a area, you start to see like some of the issues. And it made me think back to the past GAC, even when John Kerry was there speaking. In Indonesia, being an island country, global warming is having a huge effect on everything there, right? Is that something, I know I'm just kind of throwing this one at you, but when you were talking about Asia, I was thinking about, you hear about so many with, the rise of sea levels and things of that nature, and just like different crop cycles. Is that something the foundation works on, or is it, is that kind of outside the scope of it?
Having a concern for the environment and obviously how climate change and global warming, global climate change is affecting not just Asia, but all parts of the world, even here in the United States. It's definitely something that we're continuing to weave into our projects. Not so much initially with this Philippines project, with the Digital Transformation Lab and the Digital Financial Inclusion. But for example, in Haiti, where we have our affordable housing project, we're ensuring that the housing units that we're building, that we're helping to construct in partnership with our housing contracting partners, are completely environmentally friendly, made of reusable materials, and also, I would say, quote unquote, disaster relief resistant in terms, more hardy in the face of a hurricane or an earthquake or a tsunami of some sort. So if we're looking ahead in the future, I would envision the World Council and the foundation through its programs to be weaving even more of that environmental concern and awareness into every project that we have active worldwide. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it. I'm going to wrap up this first part of the conversation.
Sure.
How can credit unions and individuals get involved with the Worldwide Credit Union Foundation?
So I think the three key pieces of keep it at, three high level items. One is just to continue to spread the word. I like to use in the foundation fundraising world, it's all about, to me, I love using the analogy of drinking the Kool-Aid. I drink the gold and blue colored World Council Kool-Aid in terms of loving what credit unions are doing worldwide to help one another. And so it's sharing the really exciting and engaging things that the Worldwide Foundation through the World Council is doing, whether it be in Haiti through affordable housing, or like I mentioned in the Philippines with digital financial inclusion, ag lending in the Ukraine and Kenya. Just continue to share those stories. Continue to, if your credit union's field of membership has a large percentage, of members who either have emigrated from or who have connections from, either a project country or a region of the world where we have projects in. Share those stories with your members. I think they're going to see a lot of relevancy and really be delighted that, your credit union or the credit union movement is helping to make a difference in the country that they originate from. Obviously, moving forward, we've had a lot of volunteers at all levels of the credit union, CEO, C-suites, all the way to frontline staff, volunteer and come with us into the field and help us develop and leverage our expertise to our project partners. One of the examples that really strikes with me, we had 3 members of our Global Women's Leadership Network come to our Ukraine project at the end of 2017. and assisted credit unions with project enhancement, marketing, and financial literacy services to kind of help the rural female and youth entrepreneurs and farmers. So that's just one kind of key example of how we can leverage volunteer expertise from the U.S. market and from our other partner systems to grow projects. And then obviously the final one is, considering a very generous financial contribution. And financial contributions can mean anything from $1 to, many thousands of dollars. Every dollar that we're able to raise in the U.S. market in the last year, we're able to translate into $44 internationally. And what I mean by that is we're able to take every dollar and hand that to our project development team, and then they're able to leverage that dollar and grow it into 44 through the continued growth of an existing project, the development of a new project. So last year, the foundation was able to raise $1.7 million, predominantly from the U.S. system, and we're able to translate that into $8 million in project development funds.
Now that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So for the CPAs of the group that became CEOs, that's a pretty good ROI right there. So yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a really good ROI. Right.
Man, is there a place? Obviously, we'll link to the foundation's website. We'll link to the blog. I spent a lot of time scouring that, getting ready for our conversation. Do you have a favorite post out there that would be a good one for people to dive into that we could link to as well?
Yeah, it was one of the first ones when we got, when I came on board a year ago, I really took an assessment of what the foundation has done well, what we needed to improve on. And one of the areas of improvement for us was communications externally. And so one of the ideas that we had was to create a really basic blog and really kick that off and start off with that. So, a year later, we've got a nice editorial calendar, system going where we've got a nice churn of exciting, engaging content. But one of the first posts that we created was called 3 Ways Global Good Can Grow Your Credit Union. And it just gives anyone who maybe is unfamiliar with us as the Worldwide Foundation or the World Council kind of a deeper dive, into some of the key reasons why they would maybe want to consider making an investment in or making a donation to or volunteering toward, the World Council or the Worldwide Foundation to ultimately help to grow the global credit union movement. So I think that would be a nice primer and a nice starting point for anyone.
Oh, that's good. We will link to that in the show notes along with everything else we talk about here today. So I will pull that one for sure. Let's move into part 2 of the podcast, sure. the leadership and life hacks. Get to know you a little bit better, and hopefully you can share some of your knowledge with, let's say, the young leaders that are out there. Actually, we can all learn from it, right? So you're wrapping up your first year at the Worldwide Foundation. What inspired you a year ago to take the gig as the executive director?
Short and sweet, to make a global difference. That might be kind of, the easy answer, the easy way out. But, my background is I was a CEO of 2 museums in Wisconsin. I always wanted to be a historian and work in a museum setting. And from those experiences, I really saw the value in storytelling, and I saw the value in culture and how we can learn from one another and from different perspectives and have empathy, for each other and the challenges that each of us faces as individuals, as communities, as distinct cultural groups. So to be able to work at a larger institution that truly has global reach, I think was something that really both excited me and terrified me at the same time, because I was not from the credit union space. I knew very little of credit unions. I was a credit union member back in my days as a college student, but other than that, I had to, in the first, and I'm obviously still learning, but in the first 6 to 10 months, I really had to drink from the fire hose in terms of learning what World Council did, learning the difference between the World Council and the foundation, learning, hearing from our constituents, learning about, all the different partners and collaborations within the credit union movement, and how those partnerships could have value. So overall, just to be able to sit here and have a global impact, to be able to say that we're making a change in the fields of Kenya, in the fields of Ukraine, in the urban areas of Haiti, so on and so forth, I think is just, I sometimes have to pinch myself and realize we're in a pretty amazing spot. So.
Absolutely. Has the inspiration changed over the past year? You drinking from the fire hose, drinking the Kool-Aid?
Yeah, still drinking the Kool-Aid every morning with my cup of Joe, side by side, but, I think it's emboldened me to be even more, I don't want to say aggressive isn't the right word, but just to be more vocal and continue to build on that knowledge base, to continue to be a listener first from true titans and icons in this industry, where the World Council and the foundation specifically is blessed, truly blessed to have people like Susan Mitchell and Crystal Long and Bill Cheney and so on and so Steve Staff and so on and so forth, these leaders who have decades of experience in the movement, to be able to just pick up the phone or send them a brief email and to get their perspective on something. I think, I'm continuing to be emboldened and inspired through their leadership and through their accomplishments, that our goals really are boundless. We want to continue to grow the movement. So I think that's my inspiration to every day continue to get credit unions big and small, to get individuals, whether they're just starting in the credit union movement or a veteran of the movement for many, many years. Anytime we can get a new individual to join the global system, to get excited, I think is continued fuel and inspiration for me.
I noticed that we're both DEs, and I saw that you went through that very early on. It tends to be something people kind of build up towards, but it looked like you went through the DE program not long after you took the job at the Worldwide Foundation. Why was that important to you? Was that had to be a big part of the fire hose, I would assume, right?
Yeah, it was. The DE about a month after I came back from Kenya, and doing my research on the program through National Credit Union Foundation's website and all of those things, I truly felt like it was the next logical step for me to back away from my day-to-day responsibilities for a week and to truly put the puzzle together in my own mind, so to speak. And that's what DE is. DE is this special, unique experiences. I know for many, many people listening who are DEs, it's all about trust the process, and it's all about building bonds that are going to last a lifetime. But it's also about, DE really gives you almost a spiritual understanding of why the operating principles make credit unions unique, and really living those principles, not just in your credit union life, but also in your daily life, your personal life as well. And it truly touched my heart, touched my soul. I'm honored, to be working with Chad and the DE advisory committee on a much closer level. And I just think for me, it really put World Council, the work that we do on a global level, in context with what's happening here domestically. So
yeah, I can.
And then obviously to be able to build just such a special network of DEs in my class. Obviously, June 18 is the best class ever. But yeah,
Winter 15 would disagree with you, but I'm sure it was a nice class. So.
Right. Yeah.
I love it. No, I would be surprised. I know for me, it was, I share a lot of the same experience, feelings after, just participating in it. It was, I had at the time been probably 7-8 years into CUInsight, and that was just that week, it changed everything. Like it really answered the why, to go back to the beginning side of it. So,
right.
Is there a belief held by credit unions currently that you think will significantly change over in the foreseeable future?
And, I think this is one of the questions that I was really thinking deeply about in advance of the talk today. And I think, if you look at the operating principles, concern for community, I think my optimistic hope is that with deeper engagement through the World Council, and as we all are obviously keeping attuned to issues that are happening in Haiti and in Venezuela and other parts around the world, credit unions are a key financial resource that are helping to give hope and prosperity to those individuals who are in the thick of those conflicts. So when we talk about concern for community, I'm hoping that credit unions and individuals within their community don't see themselves just as supporting the communities within a city limit or a community boundary, physically or geographically. I think concern for community is global, and I know that I'm coming from a very, biased point of view because of the World Council has this global mission, but I've just seen so many examples of how credit unions from all parts of the country, big and small, have leveraged resources, volunteer, financial resources, in-kind donations to make a difference in people's lives outside of the community that maybe their charter has outlined or their field of membership has outlined. So I'm hopeful that concern for community can expand even more from a global perspective.
Yeah. Kind of move into the leadership section here. How would you describe your leadership style?
I'm a servant leader,
that makes sense.
That to me, that I've got a small group of people who are my teammates, and it's all about how do we help one another. Obviously there are a variety of things where, things I'm going to have to take initiative on given my role at the foundation, but I really believe that my role is to help make the job and the daily work of my team members and my colleagues at World Council easier. However I can do that, whether it's whether it's giving something a specific priority or leveraging my, my knowledge or my expertise to help make a particular task or project easier. I truly believe that as leaders, our role is to help make the work of our teams and our staff easier. I'm not a traditionalist in the sense of, everything has to be top down. It really, in our world today, a lot of things come in sideways at us, and so we need to be working together as a team to make things happen.
Is there something your team or the people at World Council that you collaborate with have heard you say so many times they can finish your sentence?
There's nothing really that comes to my mind, but just, I always apologize at the start of sometimes when I'm giving someone a challenging task, or when I'm asking someone to course correct, or when I'm asking someone to drop something that they planned on doing for a particular day because something else has come in sideways. I always kind of start my comments with, I'm sorry, I have to do this, or, to be honest, we have to do this. So when I start my words with that, then they know that that they're going to have, that their day is going to be distinctly different than how they planned on it starting. So
they can throw out the to-do list for the day, right?
Right.
It's brand new. When you think back early in your career, is there a mistake that you made or that you see young leaders make?
For me personally, I don't think starting out I was the greatest listener. I was so concerned about proving myself and impressing people in positions of power or leadership that I wanted to prove to them that I was a strong, dynamic leader. And so my brain moves a million miles a minute. So I tend to move pretty quickly through things. And so I made the mistakes of maybe just making a lot of assumptions and trying to prove myself versus just sitting back and listening first. My role at the Worldwide Foundation, that first year in the experiences that I mentioned, I really leveraged that skill set to just listen, and just take advice and listen. And as time went on, I continued to kind of build more of a confidence in a strategic direction for how the foundation is going to be moving forward. So I would say just listen first, and while you're forming your opinions and action steps.
It's pretty remarkable how often that's what the answer that comes up. We've had a few who I would call very good listeners on the podcast. And every time they're talking about it, I'm like, let me learn from you. This is what I need more of. I had a boss in one of my first jobs out of college who said the greatest answer to any question is, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. And then following up. So it was that idea that you don't have to have the answer right now, just make sure you follow through. So any memorable failures over your career that have, this is the total interview question that, in hindsight, you're like, I'm glad that happened because it led to a future success.
Yeah. So, and I was a pretty young leader when I led my first museum about 15 years ago. And I had a really dynamic, really organized staff member who was really about, crunching the numbers and following action steps. And for a variety of reasons, she ended up leaving the organization, I think, dissatisfied with her work experience. And I feel like I failed her in terms of, properly giving her the leadership that she needed and the mentoring that she potentially needed. And so I've really taken that to heart ever since then in terms of any individual that works with me. I strive to be a good listener and to really have empathy for what they're going through and what challenges they're facing. And again, trying to be solutions based and to stay positive as much as we can in the face of, any challenge, bigger, small. So just to continue to be a better listener, to be a mentor, if that's the right role for them, from my perspective, and then giving people the resources to succeed.
Has there been a piece of advice or a life lesson that you've received that you find yourself going back to over and over throughout your career?
Being patient. Just being patient. Again, it's all about where I've been is either growing a museum from A to B or continuing to grow the foundation from A to B. Those things don't happen in a month, in half a year, in a year. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of relationship building. It takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of respect. And so just to continue to slow down. I mean, I remember in first grade, my first grade teacher put a big red sign on the chalkboard, said slow down. And that was specifically for me, no one else. So, I just have to continue to remind myself to slow down and just be patient with the process, trust the process. As long as I stay authentic and true to myself and true to, and respect and trusting the people that I work with, everything will turn out fine.
This is just an add-on question for you. You've mentioned running museums multiple times. Is there something from your experience in managing or building museums that you've been able to bring to the Worldwide Foundation?
Storytelling.
Okay.
Visual storytelling, I think, is the biggest. World Council has done tremendous amount of work in the last close to 50 years growing the global credit union system, and it can be done without credit union individual support. But I think we've been so focused on the depth of work that we've done that I think, ebbs and flows, right? But there's a true opportunity to really be dynamic storytellers on a global scale, to be able to talk about the lives that we're changing in Kenya, in the Ukraine, in Haiti, in Colombia, in the Philippines, through the Global Women's Leadership Network, through our Global Classroom program. There's no shortage of stories. There's no shortage of content out there. It's just, and that's one of the things that I'm really excited about, is really pushing the organization to be more creative in terms of how we tell those stories, whether through a dynamic infographic or through a video short, or using and interjecting humor when we can, bringing people back to the operating principles when we can. And along the entire way is continuing to answer the why. Why are we doing this? Why is this relevant? Why is this important? I think that's what museums are all about, right? Is preserving stories and preserving the history of a community or of a people, and being able to tell those stories in a dynamic way. I think that's the success of any venture.
I met through a friend, and I had the opportunity to experience this, but the guy had multiple degrees in archaeology and was a historian, and he had started a walking tour company in Rome. And the stories he told I have referred so many, if people tell me they're going to Rome or they're, heading to Italy in general, I'm like, day one, go do this tour, walk around Rome with this guy, because he will tell you stories, and it'll make the rest of your trip 10 times better. So yeah, the storytelling, I've always thought WOCCU has the most amazing stories. So having somebody like you there, that's going to be awesome to put them out there that way. When you run into a wall or something that you're working on, do you have any hacks that get you through to the other side? Something that helps you maybe take a look at it from a different angle?
I usually bring if I'm personally running into something professionally that I'm just struggling with from my viewpoint, I usually my hack is to get those different viewpoints. I'll bring in, my director of donor development. I'll bring in my foundation associate. I'll go talk to our CEO, Brian Branch. I'll email or call one of our board members. I'll go to the accounting department. I will get a variety of different perspectives to try to get a better understanding of maybe there's a better way to tackle this. Maybe there's a better solution to tackle this. And depending on the day, depending on the challenge, sometimes those solutions come quicker than others. But to me, always getting a different set of eyes and a different set of hands on a problem usually leads you to the right solution.
This is an interesting one, a question that I've been asking everybody, but I think because of your position, and we've talked about it already quite a bit, so maybe this is more of a forward thinking for you. You've been establishing the message that you want the Worldwide Foundation to have over the past year. How do you see making sure that message stays fresh, not only for everybody inside of WOCCU, but like for the credit unions as well?
I'm glad you mentioned both the inside World Council and external facing, because I'm really proud to be a member of our cultural and values committee within World Council, and we're doing this in real time as we're bringing more relevancy to everyone in the organization as to the role that they play, in making a project in Ukraine or a project in Colombia happen and be successful. Everyone plays a piece to that success. And so, and I think showing every level of the credit union ecosystem through storytelling, I think is a really dynamic way to keep people's attention and to keep the content fresh. So the easy one, right, is to tell the member story, but maybe telling it, down the road, telling it from the national perspective, or telling it from the geopolitical perspective, or telling it from the credit union's perspective. I think, if you can continue to create that kind of diversity of content from those different viewpoints and kind of schedule those out in pretty regular intervals so that it's continuing to be kind of presented and digested by individuals who are interested in learning more, who are drinking the Kool-Aid. I think that's the secret success to keeping the value proposition fresh.
I think you and I are going to have all kinds of fun conversations in the future. Both of us seem to be storytellers and know the value of a good one. I always, Jill many times asks me what the point of, and I'm like, just wait. It's coming.
Right.
There's a whole story. Right. There's a setup to it. So yeah.
Right.
If you have a free day, there's nothing on the calendar. What passions outside of credit unions do you have? What do you do to recharge? What does work-life balance look like to you?
Wow. That's a really good question. Work-life balance is a daily challenge. I have really three passions right now. One is obviously, my family. I'm the proud father of twin daughters who are 6 right now. So they occupy my time quite a bit, as you might imagine. And then we just added 2 new puppies to our family mix. So for work-life balance right now, it's going to be all about home and keeping the personal bubble going. And then obviously, having a passion for the work with World Council. I do a lot outside in nature. I used to play basketball quite a bit when I was a younger man. So I'm looking for a rec basketball league here in the Madison area to get back to that passion. I like games. I like board games, like strategy board games, like Risk and other kinds of games like that. So, and I have a small group of friends from back home in Milwaukee that I get together with every couple months to play those games with, for a half day or so. So that really recharges my batteries from a emotional tank perspective too.
Which is important. All right. The last part of this conversation, part 3, the rapid fire questions. The questions are rapid. Your answers don't have to be. We're going to run through these because I do want to be respectful of your time. So do you remember the first time you got in trouble? And I'm talking like memorable trouble.
Oh yeah. So I used to collect comic books, and there was a comic book shop right down the street from our house, and had an allowance like most kids did. And one day I ran out of my allowance, and there was a new comic book that came out, and I really wanted it. And my parents had a really old school glass water jug, the plastic water cooler. Well, they used to make them as glass jugs, and they used to put coins in there, quarters, dimes, pennies, nickels, all those kinds of things. And I remember one day, just as a kid, it was totally the wrong thing to do, but I started dumping out the water bottle to get change to buy this like $2 comic book. And unbeknownst to me, my dad came home early from work one day, and I got totally busted. So, so I wasn't buying any comic books for a while.
For quite some time.
Grounded, but yeah, so that was something that really kind of stuck out in my mind.
Well, hopefully I'm sure we all have that type of a story. So the life lessons. Do you have any daily routines that if you don't do, your day just feels off? I always give the example that I journal every morning before I look at anything digital. So anything you do that you have to do?
Yeah, I love walking my girls to the bus stop every morning. It's like, literally a few hundred feet away from our front door. So I love, and now with our puppies, I'll be walking all 4 of them to the bus stop, I'm sure relatively soon here. Have my coffee with, in the morning, getting the kids ready to go, making their lunches. But you're right. That's definitely something I want to interject more mindfulness into my morning if I can. To be honest, I've really been listening to your podcasts on the way into the World Council offices. It's about a 40-minute drive from where I live. So I've been getting caught up on all the podcasts that you guys have been churning out. So
that's awesome. I love to hear that. Thanks for being a listener too. So
Sure.
Because we're having a blast creating it. So the random question, what's the best album of all time? The one you can listen to without skipping a song?
Brothers by the Black Keys. So it's a newer album, but it's something that it was an album that really resonated with me. I was going through some transition in my life, and all the songs mean something different to me in a special way. And I'm excited that the Black Keys are coming back to Wisconsin later this year after a 5-year hiatus. So I'll be able to see them. So
only music can do it, right? It transports you back to a place. As I always mention, I'm a reader. We have a stack of books in our house. Most have been recommended to us by others. Is there a book over time that you've gifted or recommended or that you think everybody should read?
So in the last year, with so much travel, I've become more of a voracious reader than I've ever done in my professional life. And I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. I know that's probably not a new one too. I'm sure other people on the other podcasts have mentioned him. Understanding Why and Leaders Eat Last, I think to me that speaks right to the servant leadership component.
Oh, for sure.
And then the newest one is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. It's continually uplifting. It continues to fill your emotional tank to kind of infuse in you that you can do anything. You can be anything. You can And it really just starts with you, and it starts with your attitude and your outlook on the world and on your life. So
that one I haven't read. So you will be adding to the stack. I will be on Amazon as soon as we're off, and we'll link to those so everybody else can check them out too. As you've gotten older, what's become more important to you? Has anything become less? To frame it, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Yeah, don't worry so much about what other people think. Obviously, care about what your parents think and what your partner, your spouse thinks, those kinds of things. But as long as you're true to yourself, true to your own values, and you're doing good things, you have a positive outlook. Don't worry so much about what others think. Don't try to always impress people. Slow down, like I said earlier. So those are some of the, and then obviously family. Becoming a parent, obviously becoming a father has changed my entire outlook on the world. So that's having more sense of responsibility, I think, is and being able to manage time, because time is such a valuable resource nowadays where I sit. So just being more balanced in life and having that spiritual connection, I think, is really important.
So you said you've been listening to the podcast on the way in. So the don't send question, you may be ready for it, but when you hear the word success, who's the first person that comes to mind?
Jim Nussel, and I had the honor to meet Jim. He was in our DE class. He and our DE classmates together. But Jim just infuses credit unions. I doubt Jim sleeps very much, because I'm sure he's just thinking about new ways to get the message out and how credit unions can change lives and can continue to improve everyone, millions of people's financial well-being, not just here in the country, but globally. And so Jim is someone who strikes me as incredibly successful. Gigi Highland's words really resonate with me. We both come from the foundation space, the nonprofit space. It's all about doing good no matter where you are. So I think, those are two people that I have tremendous respect for, both given their knowledge base and how long they've been with the credit unions industry, but just who they are as individuals and as leaders too. So two people that just come to my mind. Yeah.
That's good stuff. They've both been on the show, so we can link back to that if people want to learn more about them. So it's awesome. Again, thank you for being on the show. The last question, do you have any final asks for our listeners today, or any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Absolutely. Do global good. Do good, do global good. And that can mean anything. That can mean learning more about what we do, who we are on our website, becoming a member of our Global Women's Leadership Network, becoming we don't call our donors, we call them champions, global champions. So becoming a global champion, whatever that means to you in terms of volunteer support or financial support. So it's just, like I said earlier, it's getting a deeper awareness, becoming a global advocate, and taking action on a global scale through the foundation and through the council. We are just the vehicle. We are just the bridge. Credit unions around the world, individuals who are in the credit union movement, are the ones that are truly making the difference. And that's not just lip service. We can prove that with data. We can prove that with financial reporting. So it's really all about, credit unions, how far credit unions want to continue to help move the global credit union system forward and provide credit unions to millions more people who unfortunately don't know that they can be a resource to help them achieve a better life.
Well, that is the perfect way to end. As I mentioned, we will link to everything we talked about today in the show notes so people can get more information. They can find out how to become a champion and look into everything else. Is there a preferred way for people to reach you if they have additional questions after listening?
Yeah, real simple. I think email is the best, mreuter@WOCCU.org. Probably the easiest way, reach out to me through the website.
We'll put that in there. We will put all the foundation and WOCCU's social links and links to the blog. Again, thank you, Michael, very much for being on the show. I hope you have a great day. I've really enjoyed this. And to all of our listeners, thank you. This has been amazing.
It's an honor, Randy. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.